Hi everyone. Today we're going to learn about partial products algorithm. And our essential question is, how do I multiply numbers using the partial products algorithm? The partial products algorithm is a neat way of taking numbers, multi-digit numbers, and breaking them into smaller chunks to make it a lot easier to multiply. When you're using the partial products algorithm, you first want to think about the expanded notation of each of the numbers you are using. This will allow you to break the numbers apart and have smaller numbers to work with. So let's look at our first example. We have 34 times 5. I'm going to begin by looking at the expanded notation of each of these numbers. I know the expanded notation of 34 is 30 plus 4 equals 34. For 5, we simply have 5. The next step in completing the partial products algorithm is to multiply this 5 by each of the other numbers that we split out. So I'm going to multiply the 5 by the 30 and the 5 by the 4. A nice way to keep track of this is to write it over to the side of the problem. Be sure that when you're doing this, you write it below the equal line here so that you're not mixing it up with the numbers above. So I'm going to start with my first one. I'm going to have 5 30s. And then I'm going to have 5 4s. After I've done this, I'm going to do the multiplication. I know that 5 30s is 150, so I'm going to write 150 right below. I know that 5 4s is 20. It's very important at this point that I line up my ones column so that when I add here in a minute, I won't be confused about which columns I'm adding. So for 20, I'm lining up my 1s and my 10s. I'm then going to add all of these together. 0 plus 0 is 0, 5 plus 2 is 7, and then I just bring my 1 down. So my answer for 34 times 5 is 170. But what if there are 3 digits in my top number? It's the same thing. I'm going to start by breaking it apart into the expanded notation. 482 is 400 plus 80 plus 2, which equals 482. This time I'm multiplying by 3. The expanded notation of 3 is 3. Then I'm going to do the same thing I did before when I multiply my bottom number by each of the parts of my top number. So I'm going to multiply the 3 by 400, the 3 by 80, and the 3 by 2. Once again, I'm going to write those numbers over here to the side so that I can keep track of what I'm doing, and I'm going to make sure it's below this line so it doesn't get mixed up with the numbers up above. So I'm going to start here with my 3 400s. Then I have 3 80s. And then finally I have 3 2s. I'm now going to do my multiplication. 3 400s is 1,200. If you're stuck on how to do that multiplication, look for the small problem, 3 times 4, which is 12, and then add your 2 zeros. My next one is 3 80s. I know that's 240, so I'm going to make sure I line up my digits so that I'll be able to add here shortly. Again, if you're having a hard time with multiplication, think about the small problem. 3 times 8 is 24 with one more 0 added on the end. My final problem is 3 times 2, that is 6, lining it up in the ones column. Now I need to add all of these answers. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0 plus 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 2 is also 4. And then 1 plus nothing is 1. So my answer to 482 times 3 is 1,446. So when you're doing the partial products algorithm, the things you need to remember is to first look at the expanded notation of each of the numbers you're multiplying. Then multiply the second number by each of those partial products, each of those partial pieces of your number, and then add all of those together at the end. I'm now going to give you the opportunity to practice on a couple different problems. I have included both a 2-digit and a 3-digit number for you to multiply by. If you find you don't have enough space on this page, go ahead and just turn it to the back and copy the problem back there. Do make sure while you are completing this problem that you include the expanded notation of each number and show your work over to the left of each of your problems so that we can see that you understand how the partial products algorithm works. Complete these problems tonight, bring them in tomorrow. Don't forget to write your summary and your 2 questions. Have a good night.